And I'm just going to shut the door on the curtain in a minute. The other thing that I wanted to so we got this. This is the last session of this project because we're into November next week. And the theme I had for November was night scenes. So if you're interested in that as a project, night scenes.
Oh, right.
So if you fancy that as a project, I've got a few photos and I might try and take some more tomorrow over the weekend. But I always like sort of night paintings. That's one of the things, one subject that appeals to me. So I thought I'd pop that one in. But do get some ideas for next year, really, because that. So as I say, next month is night scenes. The month after, or December, is winter scenes. So sort of all winter theme. But thinking about next year, has anybody got any requests or ideas for what to do next year? Got 12 whole months to do. Yep.
I was thinking that I wonder if anyone is like me, has so many paintings kind of nearly finished that they've left at home.
Yeah.
And want to finish it but never get round to finishing it.
Yeah.
Maybe at a finish session.
Finishing projects.
I don't know if anyone else does that. Maybe they don't.
Yes, we do.
We
do.
Yeah, that might be a good one.
But-
Maybe we could combine a bit of presenting or something like that.
Sometimes you see something in the
Yeah.
studio or your workplace
Yeah.
and you think, oh, I wish I'd finished that, I wish
Yeah,
I'd done
yeah.
that.
Yeah, that might be an idea. I think what I'll do is I'll collect lots of ideas and then I'll just sort of send a ballot around, just get everybody to vote in all the classes and then I'll come up with a programme. I've got a few ideas of things that we could do, but and Tony was asking if we could do a one on greens, so I'll definitely do that.
Oh, what? Sorry?
One on greens and foliage and greens.
Oh, right.
So sort of foliage and what foliage and
Maybe we could do one month on seascapes and one on landscapes.
yeah, that could be good, couldn't it?
Trees.
Trees.
Sea and clouds.
Sea and
Clouds.
clouds, yep.
Weather.
Yeah, weather.
We do
That'd be
like
good.
Yep.
Wind and rain.
Wind and rain, yeah.
Rain. The
Yeah,
springtime.
you do rain.
Maybe
I'd
it's
like
spring.
rain. Yeah.
The springtime.
Sheep.
Could do sheep or it could be an animals or pastoral scenes or something like that, maybe.
Weather.
Actually, windy. When you know some paintings are just brilliant because you can feel that it's really windy.
Yeah,
I'd quite like to be able to do that.
yeah, so sort of windy. Wind. Okay, well that's great. That's quite a few ideas. So I'll ask the other groups as well. And I mean, we could also look at particular mediums and things like that. Yeah. And maybe sort of focusing. I wondered about maybe doing sort of focusing in on particular mediums and working with them for a few weeks rather than I just do oils one week and do drawing the next or something like that. Perhaps sort of do a little bit of that. Okay, that's great. Yeah. So, right, so this one, yeah, as I say, I've gridded this up. But actually, as an image, I think I prefer to lose that left-hand side anyway. I quite like the idea of it being more of a square. So with oils, what I did in the other groups is more or less just underpainting. So I would carry this on, like his shirt obviously needs some more kind of around here. But really, with something like oils or acrylics, quite often I will try and get some paint down in the first instance. Sorry, that's thinned a bit too much. And then sort of work the details over the top. So something like this one, if I wanted to get something of his shirt pattern in, I've tried to keep this sort of almost like slightly pinky here. What is that? That's a kind of bluey grey in this shirt pattern. So I've got a little bit of a grey and a little bit of ultramarine. and it's not very dark, so I'm just going to add a little bit of white. I might be better off with a square brush for this. So I quite like having a wide range of brushes, so that I can almost like make the right shape mark with the brush. So this is quite a nice sharp square-ended one. So that could go. It might even be better if it's a little bit sharper, but I can almost like, it's almost like sort of printing the mark rather than, and then there's a little bit sort of slightly redder in between. Kind of going there. And there's still quite a bit of drawing really, because you're still following those drawn lines. So it still requires that you're observing shapes and just following the edges that you can see. Given, and then there's some going that way that are very faint. And let's just try and suggest those just very, whoops, that's too. So it just wants to be very slightly, almost like just to break the line of something like that. It's not absolutely accurate, but hopefully it suggests the folds of the cloth, and it should suggest a check pattern really. And then as we're coming round this side of the form, you need to just make sure that they're kind of going that way a little bit. Got that sort of shape, like that. That's probably a little bit too dark now. Yeah, so that's probably how I deal with that area. His face, I can't see an awful lot of his features, so I'll probably just use a little bit of shadow just to suggest where I think his eyes are just in there. It's a bit too dark. Put that out a little bit. And actually, he's in a bit more shadow than I've got him really, so we need to just build the shadow tones a little bit here. Get that all a little bit darker in there, and blend that in. I can also, this is painting medium, so it's a little bit of a mixture of oil and treated oil for the water mix balls, but I can use this to sort of soften areas out and glaze the colours. That's a bit more like the right tone, I'd say. It's a little bit of a highlight on his nose, so I just want to get that a tiny bit lighter. So some white and just a little bit of a highlight there, tiny bit of highlight on his forehead. It's more, that's probably enough to suggest his features, I think. There might be a little bit more shadow in there. Just go a tiny bit of shadow, a little bit of shadow around his nostril, his eyes. I think sometimes with people, if it's a group scene, sometimes just kind of keeping the features a little bit more vague helps suggest, atmosphere, movement, and we don't need to sort of home in on everybody. We tend to just sort of take in the broad scene, go a little bit stronger there. And then some of his hair is, so this brush is very nicely worn down, ground to a point, sort of, there's hardly any bristle in that, but it's quite nice for just pushing the paint around. You can get these nice, and I've got quite a bit of control with a brush like that, which is quite nice. You could use a very thin brush, which would be quite nice, but this is quite nice for thicker paint, it's controlling thicker paint. So again, it's just trying to make some marks, sort of suggest where the light and shadows are. There's quite a bit of shadow down there somewhere. And then just want to get a few highlights in the back of his hair there. Yeah, this photo is one that I took. I don't, some of you might remember. We went to Southend Seafront once and did some sketching. And this is one of the ones I just took. I think we were sitting in a cafe and I just took a few pictures of people around. And it's quite, was this group though, it's quite nice, quite a few years ago. I'm just sketching in the seafront. And then just really a little bit highlight his hair. That's probably going to be a little bit too bright. So this bit, because the brown's dried, what I might do is just actually just put a little bit of medium there, just so it's, I don't always like very dry marks. So pop a bit of medium down, it'll make it look more kind of wet and wet then. I can kind of soften it out there. Yeah, that's a bit softer now, which appeals to me. Kind of painting I like. That's a few highlights in here. Again, could do this, might be easy with a thinner brush, but it sort of suggests something of his hairstyle. Is that enough? Just a little bit of oils. So kind of painting into the, and again things like the hat. There's not an awful lot of detail on the hat, but if I wanted to work any of the sort of textures, the ribbing and things like that, I could then, you know, at this stage just make some little marks. Probably not going to show up, but you know, a few marks to suggest the sort of ribbing on the hat. The main thing is sort of block in some colours, and then you can then work into it. Something like the background, I don't think I'd overdo that. Maybe, I mean, in the photo, it's those sort of silvery greens anyway. So I've made it quite green, but I think I'll probably sort of soften that out a little bit more, a bit like that, just so that it just suggests something going on there. But I don't want anything too sort of dominant really there. I think we're balancing, it's getting a bit of colour everywhere. Painting, getting a bit of colour everywhere, and then just kind of working the areas up that you want to bring some focus and attention to. Manage to get a load of grey all over that. And then maybe softening some areas out. I'd ignore the beans. Not that I've got anything against beans, but they don't do a lot of composition really. They don't really help. You don't have the bean right bang in front of it. It doesn't really help with the image. So it's choosing what you want to include, what you want to take out. But what I would encourage is to, you know, try and get your own references and work from your own themes, take your own photos, build your own images really.
Okay.
Great.